Hey everyone, my name is Azita Ziaei, and today I want to talk to you about this awesome project that I created last year, which I interviewed 20 immigrant women that they share their stories to the world that they get. And my vision was to inspire and empower other immigrant women that they want to come here, they want to immigrate to Canada or any other countries, but they have that fear that what's going to happen next, or what's happening, or they are going through a hard time, because we all go through it. And I just want to inspire them by watching these videos that if we did it, they can do it too, and they are not alone. I hope you enjoy them. And if you like my channel, please subscribe, and I have more projects coming on soon. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Hey, good morning, good morning. I'm here with Kirsty Perring, and today is May 21st, 2020, and we're still in quarantine. How are you doing, Kristy?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Azita?
I'm good. So how was quarantine so far for you?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Not too bad, actually. Glad that we're getting some sunny weather so we can at least get outside. But yeah, in comparison to where I'm from, South Africa, we seem to have it a lot easier in Canada at the moment. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about you're from South Africa and you have a travel agency here, right?
Correct, yes, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to tell us more about your background and then your job, what you do here, that would be.
Sure, yeah. So I was actually originally born in the UK, but have grown up and spent most of my life in South Africa. So I've been living here in Toronto with my family for 5 years now. And I've always been in the travel industry, but it was only sort of 18 months ago that I launched my own company. So what got me to Canada in the first place was through a job in travel. I got a work visa. And originally, my husband and I came over in 2008, and we were here for 18 months, and then decided to go back home to South Africa. And fortunately, I was able to work for the same company from South Africa, which was really great. And after we had our son in 2012, we decided that we should come back to Canada just for opportunities for him in terms of education. So we came back. My company did an intercompany transfer. We came back. Again, we were on working visas. And after 3 years, we're able to apply for our permanent residency, which we got. And then it was after that that I decided to start my own business so that I could work from home and have more sort of freedom and flexibility and time with my son. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. So I'm sure it was a big difference between, like, maybe it's big. I don't know. I never been in South Africa, so I have no idea. So maybe you want to tell us about like the first 1 year, or like whatever it took you to settle in Canada. How was the like experiences for you?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, I think probably one of the most noticeable differences is obviously the weather. And I think for a lot of immigrants that come to Canada, adjusting to the weather is a big thing. So, South Africa is obviously very sunny climate, very warm. We're used to, being on the beach, being outdoors. So, that was a big adjustment. But I must say, funny enough, this year I felt like, oh, we've had such a mild winter. So, I think I'm definitely getting used to it. So there were some challenges, certainly. I mean, traveling with a child was a whole new ball game. We also came with two dogs that we brought, but fortunately with Canada, there's no quarantine for dogs, so it was quite an easy process. We kind of picked them up the day after we arrived, so that was great. I think initially some of the challenges are we obviously needed a place to live, and we had to sort of pay a year in advance rent, send a whole letter about our family, photographs, our dogs. Traveling, having dogs again to find a place to live is a bit more difficult. But for the first year, we were living in North York, and we had a great place. Another challenge, obviously, the rate of exchange between the South African rand and the Canadian dollar. I don't know what it's sitting at now, but it's about 14 to 1. So Toronto is quite an expensive city. So, you know, that was tough as well, just financially. My husband didn't have a job when we came over, so he had to look for a job. He's in the IT field, and fortunately he found something within 3 months, so it wasn't too bad. That was out in Mississauga, so a bit of a travel for him. And then, yeah, just finding daycare for my son. Again, daycare is expensive here, and I think when we came over, he was just 3. So he was at a good age where he wasn't that attached to our family back in South Africa. But as the years have gone on and he's seen sort of his cousins and his grandmas, either when they've come here or we've gone there, he is now starting to question why we don't live in South Africa anymore, you know, why he doesn't get to see them as often. So that's quite tough. And I think the transition when he went from sort of daycare into kindergarten, we moved areas, then we moved up to Richmond Hill. And so he went to a new school. And that was quite challenging. And, you know, in hindsight, I kind of realized that it was tough for him. It was a whole new group of friends, teachers, that kind of thing. We actually went through a stage where he developed a stutter for a couple of months. And I think, you know, it was all sort of stress related. We had a lot of days where he didn't want to go to school, was crying, and not having a support group here in terms of family, again, was really difficult. So we were lucky, having been here before, that we did know people, and we had a group of South African friends who we're still very close with, which is great. But at the same time, it's difficult when you don't have family. And especially now, we're finding it really hard to be so far away from family when the whole world's in lockdown, and, you know, if anything was to happen, we can't just go and see them. We actually should have been in South Africa now. Because of my job, I get to travel a lot, which is great, and I do go home at least once a year. And so we would have been there now. So yeah, that's a little bit tough. From a language perspective, you know, we were English speaking, so there wasn't a difficulty in adjusting to the language side of things, but there are definitely differences in lifestyle. South Africans, I think, on a whole, are very social people. We have a lot of barbecues, and you know, it's completely normal and acceptable to just sort of pop in at somebody's house for a cup of tea, drop by unannounced. Whereas in Canada, we found that people are a lot more, I don't know, conservative in a way, a bit more private. You kind of can't just knock on somebody's door and say, I'm coming for a visit. You kind of need to plan that in advance. So that took a bit of getting used to. I think also in South Africa, you know, when Travis was at school, the school would give you a list of all the parents, all their phone numbers, addresses, that kind of thing. It was, you know, very freely available. Whereas here, again, privacy and
Yeah,
safety.
yeah, lots of privacy, lots of like, you can't do this, you can't do that. Yeah.
So it's taken a good while, you know, to get to know other parents at school. I had actually reached out to the principal and asked if I could, you know, put a note in other kids' books to say this is our contact number if they want to join a WhatsApp group. And the principal said, no, you're not allowed to do that. So slowly started to get to know some other moms. And, you know, now I feel like I have a support group through the school, and he has great friends. And so I do, you know, if I've got an emergency or I need to do something, I do have people now that I can call to look after him or drop him off. You know, I guess for the first couple of years, my husband and I didn't really have any date nights because we didn't have any babysitters or anything like that. Whereas now we do. And what I've always said is quite interesting is at his school, sort of his best friends, one of the boys is Russian, one is Brazilian, one is Argentinian, he's South African, there's a boy from Korea. So it's such a diverse, class, which is amazing. He doesn't stand out as being the only immigrant child or the only person who comes from somewhere else. They all, kind of are. So yeah.
That's the beauty of Toronto too. Like living in Toronto, well, you don't feel like you're an immigrant.
Absolutely, yeah. You never feel like you're the outsider. So yeah, as I said, now we've been here 5 years, and I would definitely say this is home. We've just applied for our citizenship, so we're in the process of that, and yeah, we've got a great support group of friends, and through business as well. And one of the things that I've also found out about myself in starting a business is that when I worked for a company, I didn't really have the need to network with other people. So I kind of, kept to my bubble of South African friends or school friends. Whereas now I've had to put myself out there and have joined various networking groups. And through that have actually made so many great friends. Again, lots of immigrants from different countries who just have been able to give such great advice on starting a business, networking, where to meet other people, and just building relationships in the community. So that's been amazing as well.
Yeah, that's true. Like that's how we met.
Absolutely, yeah.
Networking groups and here, there, and that's a part about like being an entrepreneur. Like we have to put ourselves out there. Like otherwise, like nobody will notice us. Nobody will know what we do, and especially as you said, especially I guess in Canada or in Toronto, I'm talking about like the weather-wise, like we don't during the winter. I don't do much. Like that's the part that it just most people are, I guess, stay home and not to stay home, but you know what I mean. Like when it's sunny, you feel like you want to do more. You want to get out more. You want to meet people more. And I guess that's part of like culturally what you say about like knocking at each other's door or like meeting or going to people's houses. Like that's how I felt like back home in Iran. Most like neighbors, they really knew each other. But here, like I just moved, but even my the other neighborhood I was living, like I was there for 9 years and I just knew one or two neighbors, and that is kind of sad. I moved from Spain, so imagine like Spain, and they are loud, they are out, they are always
Yeah.
each other's business, like talking, and neighbors from the window to window, they talk to each other and stuff. And then that was a culture shock for me too. Like even though I was living in Canada before and living in US, and I think the weather has lots of effect in the relationship of people here. And as I said, like I don't know. At the beginning, it would really bother me, but now you get used to it. That you don't know your neighbors.
Yeah. But what's interesting as well is, some people can find it quite lonely, and it is quite hard to adjust. And by reaching out to some of the other moms, I found out how everybody was feeling the same. But maybe everyone was just a bit shy or nervous to reach out. And, once I kind of did, it was great because everyone then, spoke about how they felt the same. And regardless of where you come from, it's kind of the same challenges. And I suppose the biggest challenge is lack of family members for a lot of people. What's also quite interesting in South Africa, though, and what took a little bit of getting used to here is how open gardens are and houses are. You know, in South Africa, there's big walls around our houses, a lot of security, burglar bars, that kind of thing, which is not a nice way to live at all. But even in saying that, we still seem to be more social. Whereas here in Canada, sort of our front door is like wide open on the road, which was strange as well. But you fit into it quite quickly, because I can't tell you the number of times that I've left my keys in the front door overnight. You know, so from a security point of view, Canada is just amazing. The fact that I can walk my son to school, he can ride his bike. If I want to go for a run at 5 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, it's safe for me to do so. You know, those are privileges that we don't have in South Africa, unfortunately, just because of crime and that kind of thing. So there is a lot more freedom for us here. And the funny thing is that even though the winters don't get cold like this in South Africa, our houses there are not equipped for any cold weather. So you're actually cold inside your house. And I find that in Canada, and maybe winter and snow is still a novelty for us, but we tend to go out more in winter here than we would in South Africa, you know, because you can go sledding or tobogganing, or so we almost are a bit more active in winter than we would be necessarily in South Africa. So yeah, I guess you've just got to look for the positives in all of these things, you know. So yeah.
Well, that's true. Like when you say when I said about winter not going out, because my kids are teenagers now, so they are not doing anything actively outside, like except like with their friends if they want to do something, and that's why I feel like, okay, yeah, when they were younger, that was a different story. Yeah, I would take them out, like, you know, I would do things with them, but now everybody has their own life, so like that's why I meant like not doing it. I guess it's just me not doing it.
Yeah,
anything outdoor, because yeah. Otherwise, if it's a nice weather, yeah, let's just go for a walk and stuff. So, but yeah, I like that security part of South Africa. I heard about it a lot, and I didn't know like how it's really impact your life there. Like, how do you even live like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you've grown up that way, it's all you know. Funny enough, we went back a couple of years ago, and my son actually commented on one of our relatives' houses, and he said this is like a prison, because it was like a security gate, then a big door, and he didn't kind of understand it. And it is, I mean, it's such a beautiful country, and it's an amazing country to visit as a tourist, and we absolutely love it, but it's just unfortunately not that safe to live, and it's not a great way to live behind these bars, so to speak. And unfortunately, the education system there is not that great either. So, you know, we were grateful to come to Canada where there is decent free education. And yeah, it's very tough at the moment in South Africa with this lockdown. They're actually speaking about opening schools again in June, which is going to be very hard because they haven't even reached their peak yet. So again, just although we're far away from our families at the moment, we are just so grateful to be in a first world country where there are excellent medical facilities, you know, and the government really seems to be handling this crisis so well, with funding and support for, you know, business owners and parents and everything. You don't get that in South Africa. So yeah, it's really tough. It was also interesting when we were last there, we were sort of driving down a road, not necessarily in a bad area, but, you know, the streets are busy, and my son had opened the window in the car, and my mom said to him, no, Travis, put the window up. And he was like, why? And it's hard to explain that, you know, to a 6-year-old, like, why can't you have the window open? And I just, said to him, look, there are people here who have no jobs, no food. They're very desperate. So, sometimes somebody could stick their hand in the car and try and take something. And he just couldn't understand the concept of somebody needing to steal or wanting to steal, So yeah, we coming up to those kind of questions, which is hard. And he's telling me now that, when he's old enough, he's going back to live in South Africa with Granny. And so I said to him, well, that's your choice. That's fine. When you're old enough, you can. And on the flip side, my nephew is waiting till he's old enough and he can come and live with us in Canada. So, kids, I guess, see the grass is green on the other side without really understanding everything that happens. So,
yeah, it is very interesting subject to, if you want to explain it to 6 years old. And yeah, I can't relate kind of, because in Iran, like, we have walls too, like for the houses we have walls, and we have lots of gates, and um, maybe big house, like big yards or big houses and stuff, but it's still like there's a wall, and there's a, like, security. You always have to watch out and be careful, and yeah, I can relate to that. And even like in Spain it was the same thing. Like, I don't know why, it's just like some countries. Spain was okay, it wasn't like that, like security wise, like I didn't feel like, lots of crime happening, but at the same time that was their culture. Like, the houses they had, it was at the walls. And yeah, it is very interesting to see, like, every country is so
I mean,
different.
we lived in the UK for a long time as well. And it was, again, not all big walls and things or security like South Africa, but I would definitely say Canada still feels safer even than, the UK. So yeah, from that point of view. And look, I mean, in South Africa, there's very limited public transport, and what there is, you kind of wouldn't take necessarily alone and that kind of thing. So again, here, it's just for us to see a subway system that works so well, or buses and things like that. It's so easy to get around the city, and to go places. In South Africa, you pretty much have to have a car. Whereas in Canada or Toronto, you could get by if you didn't. And when we first got here, we did only have one car, which Darren took to work. So I was taking Travis on a bus and a subway down to work and to daycare. So that was had its own challenges as well. It was difficult. And there's things like in South Africa, for example, we don't put gas in our car ourselves. We have gas attendants at all gas stations. We have people who pack our shopping at every grocery store. So, you're coming from sort of that, a very privileged lifestyle in a way, to having, pretty much everybody has cleaners at their home and that kind of thing, to coming to a place where you have to do a lot more for yourself. But it just goes hand in hand. That's kind of the price that you pay for having the freedom. So it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, like, the way you talk about it, like, I left Iran like 26 years ago, but when I see some of my clients, they compare here and Iran, like, especially when they had like jobs, like as a lawyer, doctors. It's so hard to get certification here again, and then you have to go through the whole process and exams and stuff, so you can work. And then, like, they always compare their lifestyle here and there, and like obviously here, like, yeah, it's different because you have to do so much more on your own, and then over there they're so used to the lifestyle they had there, and like, yeah, it was a privilege. And
Yeah, for sure.
it's always hard to compare the two places. And
Yeah. Yeah, you can't compare. I mean, we owned property in South Africa. We had a house, you know, big spaces with pools. We can't afford to buy property in Canada at the moment. It's so expensive in Toronto. We'd have to move quite far afield. And it's quite interesting because it's something that seems to perplex my son. He's like, why don't we have a house? And I'm like, we live in a house, it's our home. But he's like, but why don't we own a home? You know, so yeah, it's the same. And qualifications, look, I mean, there are highly educated people in South Africa, you know, there are great universities and things like that. But again, the qualifications don't necessarily equal the same as what's in Canada. So people who, like you say, who were lawyers or in certain fields, in order to carry on with that, would have to re-study. And obviously they need to make money as quickly as possible. So they end up doing, you know, different professions. So yeah, at one point there was quite a big, what we call the brain drain from South Africa of like doctors, which came to Canada, doctors and nurses and things that were very much in demand. And yeah, the country started seeming to be going through that again, like it goes in waves where, you know, you'll have people immigrating either to Australia, Canada, the US, or the UK. And then it settles down for a while, and then a lot of people go back, which is what we did. We were in the UK for 6 years, and then we went back. A number of our friends and family members also went back to South Africa. But then kind of the cycle starts again, and there's sort of no change in government, and the crime seems to get worse again. So, you know, everyone ends up leaving. So, yeah, it's difficult, but as I said, Canada is very much home now. And as much as I love traveling, and traveling is what I do and my work and my passion, when I've been on a trip, I do always now say I'm looking forward to going home, and home is here. So, yeah.
Hey, that's great. Like the comparison, like yeah, and I go back to the story of my clients, and it doesn't matter clients or family or like relatives, they want to come here, and then and you know, like when you are back home, as you said, the greener the yard is greener. What do you
The
call it?
grass is greener, yeah.
The grass is greener. And then when they come here, the reality and the stuff, like, and then they start comparing, like here, there, like, and I tell them all the time, like, it's, you make that choice, like, you can't keep comparing because the life is going to be so hard. Like, if you don't know where you're standing, like, you're there or you're here, like,
Yeah.
which one you want to go on? Because, yes, that's a different country, different lifestyle, and here is different, and you have to
Yeah,
choose.
you can't live in limbo. You have, if that's a decision that you've made, you have to stick to it. You know, I've got some South African friends, and they're finding it very hard to adjust and find their place and you know, where they want to be. And I guess, you know, some of them are single, so they, you know, again, it's been a struggle to make friends. So I think also just like one of the things that you do when you initially come over is you comparing value of things or the cost of things. And that's kind of one of the first things that you have to stop doing, because otherwise everything just seems so expensive here when you compare it from dollars to rands. So I guess there's only like two things that I find a little bit backwards in Canada. The one is the banking system. Apparently South Africa's banking is quite advanced, and I've always struggled a bit with, and it's improved definitely in the time that I've been here, but there were a lot of things that I found a bit odd about banking in Canada. And the other one that I find odd is if you go and pick up a prescription from a pharmacy, you have to wait like 15 to 20 minutes for it to be ready. So like in South Africa, if we would go to a pharmacy and I hand in my prescription, I stand in the line, I wait, they get it ready, they give it to me, like 5 minutes, we're done, you know. Whereas here you hand it in, they're like, okay, come back in 20 minutes. I don't know, that's kind of one thing that blows my mind. I don't know why that takes so long, but yeah, it's a very small thing to have to deal with. So.
Well, about the banking system, I'm interested to see, like, what was the difference? What is
Well,
the
I think
difference?
initially when we first came, and like you couldn't deposit checks at an ATM. Like there was quite a difference with doing EFTs. Like here we have this interact banking, which is obviously easy. I think, I don't know, and just in South Africa, you didn't often hear of people's cards being compromised. And then if your card was compromised, you know, you had to wait for a new one. It just seemed like it was a bit behind. I mean, look, now they've obviously improved, and I was always amazed with tapping a card. I found that quite interesting. I know once I went out and I completely forgot my wallet at home, and I had my phone, and was able to obviously pay with Apple Pay and things like that. So I think now they have caught on to a lot of things. But yeah, in the beginning, I think they were quite far behind for some reason, just compared to other countries.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about those things about the pharmacy and yeah, I guess every country has their own differences and like yeah, I know. Just going back to the questions, like I know you answered some of them between our conversation. Um, Maybe just talking about like how you overcame all the challenges maybe you had like the first year. I know you were talking about the school and stuff, but just briefly if you can.
Yeah, I think you know, there were hard days. There were, you know, times walking through the snow with a child on my hip and like, oh, what am I doing kind of thing. But again, it was just kind of, you know, remembering why we were doing it, for his future. I was, you know, lucky to, as I said, to have a support group of South Africans who I could call on, you know, if I was feeling down. I think one of the difficult things as well is the time difference between South Africa. So it's either 6 or 7 hours apart. So to be able to, you know, talk to family, you had to sort of schedule it between certain hours. So I think sometimes it was tough, you know, if you just want to pick up the phone and speak to your mom, you know, because you're having a bad moment, you can't. Again, obviously technology has come so far with FaceTime and, you know, Zoom and all of these things. So it's absolutely amazing. One of my brothers lives in the UK, and, you know, just that we can coordinate a family chat with the family in South Africa, us here, him in the UK, it's amazing. So it makes that distance not feel so great. It's also, you know, there's no direct flights from Canada to South Africa. It's a far way to go. You know, you're looking at least, I mean, the quickest route would be via New York. So it's what, a 2-hour flight to New York, and then it's like 15 hours to Johannesburg. So it's far and it's long and it's expensive as well. So yeah, those kind of things were tough. But I think, yeah, just knowing why we were here. And as I said, for us, it was also important to get a church that we could go to, that we were happy to attend. And so we've now got a really great church family. We're very involved with our church as well. So that's helped. And again, it's just a case of, like I said, everyone kind of feels the same, and it's just taking that first step. So now, you know, we know our neighbors all around us. And through these networking groups, I've made such great friends. It's got nothing to do with business anymore. You know, I've just really made amazing friends, and some of them are Canadian women, you know, born and bred Canadians, and others are from all over the world. But yeah, it's just been incredible. One of the things that we do want to do is travel more within Canada, because we haven't seen a lot of Canada. And I guess another positive out of this whole quarantine is that it looks like domestic travel is going to be the first to open up, and that, you know, it'll give us an opportunity to do driving trips within Canada. They've got such beautiful lakes and wide open spaces. So we want to do more of that, and just explore, you know, everything the country has to offer. It's great because we go camping in the summer with friends, which is, you know, kind of a similar thing that people would do in South Africa. So, you know, we've got that as well. Yeah, so it's amazing. I think when you start looking back on things, things that you thought were so difficult and so hard, when you talk about them now, you realize like it actually wasn't it wasn't that bad, you know. And 5 years has gone by so quickly. So yeah.
Yeah, true. But it's for me, like, because I emigrated 5 times, so I can relate like to so many different women. I'm talking about women because this project is about women. So, like, I came as a single, and then like got married, went to U.S., and then from U.S. moved to Spain, and Spain got divorced with 2 kids, and come back, and just like wherever you go, it doesn't matter what age or what stage. Um, yeah, these challenges are all there, and just even like going from Canada to US, same language, same thing, but I felt like, yeah, always like reaching out, like putting yourself out there, and get to know other people, and the network, as you said, like that was the most important thing for me. And as I said, like no matter which country, which stage I was in. So, um, and just one more, the question, like, what suggestion do you have, like, for the new immigrants, or the one they want to come here, and they start their lives here? So,
Yeah, so I think, just stick with it. Just remember why you made the choices when it gets hard. And to, yeah, just to put yourself out there, and even if you shy or you're unsure, because everybody has been through it. There's so many great groups on Facebook, and I think it's amazing how kind and how giving people are. When we first got here, our furniture was being shipped over, so we had nothing. And, our friends chipped together and they gave us dining room table and, all the basic needs. And what we've done then is then we kind of pay it forward. So when other new people come, if they need just like a starter kit or whatever, there's so much that you can do for new people. So I think, look for those kind of groups. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just from the country that you're from. Obviously, there's South African groups on Facebook, and I see there's a lot of giving within those circles. But there are other groups that are just for immigrants in general. And, you will just find that people are very kind and very giving and want to help in so many ways if you let them. So, it's kind of up to you just to be open and accepting to those kind of things. And yeah, it can be tough at times, especially the winter. It can look dark and dreary, and but the summers here are amazing. You would never when I tell people how hot it gets in summer in Toronto, they can't believe it. So there's that. And I mean, Canada or Toronto really has 4 seasons. They're so distinct, and each one is so beautiful in its own way. So yeah, just embrace the changes as much as you can, and just remember why you came.
yeah, that's true. Like going to the basic of like why you chose here, and that's looking at the good side of it, especially during the weather changes and stuff. So that makes a big difference. And uh, well, thank you so much, Kristy. It was a great time. So finally, we got to talk.
Yeah,
We met before, but we never talked. Like hello. You have a guest here. What's your name?
What is rhino? One of the African animals.
Does it have a name? Your rhino?
What's rhino's name?
Riney.
Riney.
What's your name?
What's your name?
Travis.
Travis.
Yeah, what's quite interesting is he has a Canadian accent, unlike us. So we having to adjust a lot of our words Even though it's still English, they, you know, call things different things here. So he corrects us a lot for our pronunciation or our terms.
Yeah, I guess all the immigrants, they're gonna get that when they have kids. The kids grow up here, and like my kids, they were born in U.S. and then when we moved to Spain, like they start writing and reading and everything in Spain, and everything was Spanish. And then when we moved here they were like 7, 8, and now obviously they correct me. And I like I've been like outside of Iran like half of my age, and now you're like younger than me, but you're correcting me. But that's how
Exactly.
life is, I guess, for immigrants, right? It's anywhere. So
Yep. Yeah, no, our kids know it all. So
yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Kristy. This was a great time, and thank you for participating. And yeah,
Forward to
bye,
seeing
Travis.
you soon in person again.
Bye. Have a good day.